Well, the state's largest electric utility, Northwestern Energy, has also mapped out a plan to acquire hundreds of megawatts of additional power in Montana.
Now that plan gets a public hearing next week and is not without controversy. Tonight, MTN's Mike Dennison tells us what the plan is and why it faces criticism.
Northwestern Energy already generates at least half the electricity it needs to serve its 370,000 Montana customers, and at peak consumption times buys the rest on the open market. But the company's plan says that regional market will tighten in the near future, and that Northwestern wants to buy or build 750 megawatts of its own generation in the next 5 years, twice as much as it has now.
The biggest takeaway from Northwestern's perspective on what this plan sets forth is the critical need that our portfolio has, and that need is not for intermittent types of generation, but what we call 24/7 generation that we can turn on and off according to the portfolio's needs.
The initial plan said that need is best met by new natural gas-fired power plants. Now, after some public criticism of the plan, Northwestern says it will ask for bids on any source of power, including wind, solar, pumped storage, energy efficiency, or natural gas.
We're now going out for the competitive solicitation to let the market provide the actual data.
But Brian Fady of the Montana Environmental Information Center in Helena believes the initial plan underestimated the potential cost of natural gas-fired plants. And he worries that Northwestern is still predisposed to favor gas plants over cleaner and perhaps cheaper energy.
The gas plants that Northwestern seems to want to build, those are an economic risk for our future. And wind and solar, they don't have that same economic risk because they have no fuel cost.
He also notes the plan assumes coal-fired power from Colstrip will continue for the next 20 years.
That's a big risk to consumers if you're not mapping out what would happen if that plant does close in the next 20 years, and how should the utility respond in a least cost way.
Hines says Northwestern believes part of Colstrip can continue for another 20 years, and that without it, even more new plants would have to be built at great expense. He also isn't sure whether renewable power projects, wind or solar, can provide the type of power needed on a consistent basis.
I need to be able to feel comfortable that we have power available when it's 40 below zero and people are relying on electricity to heat their homes.
The plan goes before the Public Service Commission for a hearing on Monday. As explained by Commissioner Roger Koopman of Bozeman, the PSC can't change the plan, but can act as a sounding board for the public and provide its own insight.
I think sometimes utilities can kind of get onto a track. They get committed to a certain approach, and it's good for them to hear from other minds that have a lot to say and think as well.
Something else the plan doesn't include. What will be the cost of these new plans to ratepayers? That comes later, when Northwestern submits the actual projects to the PSC for its review and approval. In Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And Mike tells us that Northwestern says it plans to begin the bidding process for new plants and resources within the next 2 months.